Welcome back to the newly rebranded Spreadsheet Radio. This is Nick Kleifges and Steve Doman reporting live from Arlington, Virginia on a beautiful Thursday evening in the midst of fall. We are just miles outside the nation's capital. Football is back and a new weekend is upon us. Steve played golf today. Steve, how'd you hit him?
I hit him. I had a few good ones, a few bad ones. My buddy came in town and, technically I'm on vacation. It was an unbelievable day. Played with another elderly fella, and he was about 200 yards away on a par 3, hit driver, rung the pin, ended up being an inch away. He started freaking out. It was pretty funny. All in all, great day for golf, and glad to be here.
Hey, well, in case you were wondering, work still sucks, so we won't get into that. Now, before we get into the recap of our 11-1 weekend, I first want to congratulate my good friend and co-host here for the first Lions win of the season. Superfan Steve, how does it feel to know that you have been exonerated of your sins and spared the cold darkness of yet another 0-win season?
Well, I mean, if we would have lost this game, we had 10 other ones. I'm pretty sure we would have gotten one, and it just feels good to get one. We got a few calls that went our way. There was a roughing the passer at the end. There was a call before the end of the half where Golden Tate fumbled in the end zone, and how the refs are calling it nowadays, somehow they reversed it to a touchdown. And usually those calls don't go the Lions' way, but, glad they did and glad we got the W.
Hey, sometimes those calls go your way, sometimes they don't. Luckily, in your case, they did. So, congratulations on your first win. I'm happy for you, buddy.
Thank you.
Now, this would not be a college football podcast unless we mentioned one of the most memorable college football plays in college football history, certainly the most important play this season. I mean, the end of that Michigan State game, I was going nuts. It didn't even affect my bet because State was already going to cover the spread even before that play. I typically prefer Michigan State in this rivalry. I hate Michigan. I hate Michigan fans. No offense, Jake. So I was thrilled with the finish. Steve, you are a Statey. What do you got on the blocked punt return heard around the world?
Let's just call it what it is. That was all but wrapped up for Michigan. Huge. The luckiest thing that I've seen live. One of the craziest play that I've seen live. I feel bad for the punter, but people talk about how he should have just fell on it. It's easy to say now once the play has happened, but it's just a crazy finish, and
you had money line on that game, right?
I had money line, so I was going nuts.
Yeah, so that helped you out a lot. Now, Harbaugh, I think this loss for him was a worse loss than the Super Bowl loss to his brother. It's a devastating loss. I guarantee you he has not slept yet. Now, Steve's buddy Jake is actually a University of Michigan alumni, was watching the game. So, Jake, what was going through your head when that play occurred?
Well, first of all, I'm sure Harbaugh doesn't usually sleep regardless of his state of mind. And he's been here before, and if you'd have told anyone before the season that if you are a one-loss team going in at home against State to win and to be a BCS contender, you would have laughed. So I don't think that this is another game for Harbaugh. He's played here before. I don't think that's even it's just another game for him. He's going to be fine. And the only reason why Michigan is going to be good for the next 5 to 10 plus years is because of him. And that's the only reason that this loss isn't so devastating. But while that was going on in my head, the first thing immediately you're thinking at the situation, the only way we lose the game is fumbling the ball. On second down, on third down, on fourth down. That's the only way we lose the game.
You could lose the game after that play, but just on that play, fumble it. And at least with, if he just falls on the ball, they have to do a Hail Mary last second heave to the end zone. So everyone's argument that, and it was my initial thought too, when you just fall on the ball, just fall on the ball. And if that's the argument, just run the ball.
Right. Like you said, it's been a great season for Michigan. I think that Harbaugh has already exceeded expectations, and to your point as well, it's gonna be a great era for Michigan, and you guys are lucky to have Harbaugh, but this wasn't his brightest moment. So our only loss.
I also have to address the worst call in
that was a
in football this year, professional and college. a 15-yard penalty on 2nd and 7, I believe, that turned into a first and goal for Michigan State.
They scored a touchdown.
It was reviewed. Right. Our leading tackler was ejected from the game, and in all reality, it should have been a 15-yard penalty on Michigan State, which would have turned it into a 3rd and 18 on their first scoring touchdown drive.
He was basically
by their All-American.
The state, what was it, the quarterback, and he hit his helmet.
That and the face mask is why.
I didn't like that call at all.
Well, you'll get him next time. So our only loss of the week was the Pittsburgh-Georgia Tech game. Steve had Georgia Tech. They lost in overtime to Pittsburgh. If you go back and listen to the podcast, Steve, you actually argued for Pittsburgh. All your points were about how Georgia Tech has sucked this season. So what was up with that pick?
It was just, it was more of a feel. I didn't think Georgia Tech really, they were 2-4 or something going into the game. They were ranked coming into the season. I really didn't think they were going to be, this bad this season. I thought they were going to snap out of it against, from the first couple of games, a not very good Pitt team. But I was wrong. That's what happens. It was one loss. That's it.
All right. Well, losses are not acceptable here on Spreadsheet Radio, so we're gonna need to go. We're gonna need to go undefeated this week.
If I have a crystal ball, you let me know. Right?
So now we're going to talk first about in our opinion, the biggest game of the week in college football. Then we're going to get into our picks. The Utah-USC game, very shady game here. Undefeated Utah is 3.5-point underdogs to USC, to a 3-3 USC team who's recently lost their coach.
At USC.
Yeah. So Steve likes Utah. Steve, why do you like the Utes here?
You just watch them the whole season. They,
beat Michigan.
Well, they beat Michigan, obviously. The first game of the season, they didn't even look that good. They still beat them. But that was also when Harbaugh was having, his new legs, whatever. They beat a good Cal team. They just look good. I like Travis Wilson. He was suspended for a couple of games this season, but he's come back. He's looked really good. Utah looks good. South Carolina is not. They've had coaching issues. I don't get this spread, but I just think there's something, very sneaky going on with this spread. Vegas knows something. I don't know. I don't get how they give USC just because they're at home. I don't know.
All right. Now, here's my opinion on this game. This Southern Cal team cannot be forgotten. With everything they've endured this year, they still have the talent and, more importantly, the health to be ready to fight down the stretch for a Pac-12 title. They're not out of it yet. Cody Kessler is a one-time Heisman favorite. He's still thrown 17 touchdowns with just 5 interceptions this year. He's averaging 9.3 yards per pass. The Trojans usually play well against Utah, and I firmly believe that USC will show us this weekend why they were preseason ranked number 1, and Utah was picked to finish 5th in the Pac-12. So in this game, I'm laying the 3 points, and I'm taking the Trojan Army to protect the Coliseum against the Utah Utes.
We'll just have to wait and see.
We sure will. So we're gonna do 5 picks this week. We're gonna do 3 college and 2 NFL. I'll let Steve get us started with his first pick.
Well, I'm gonna go with Florida State at the only team that I picked last week to lose at Georgia Tech. It's Florida State minus 6.5. If you watch Florida State this year, some of their wins haven't been pretty, but one thing that I can tell you is pretty is Dalvin Cook. In 6 games, he's had rushing 950 yards, 10 touchdowns, and receiving an additional 1 touchdown, 150 yards. The guy is like a machine. He is almost, if not equal to Leonard Fournette, in my opinion. Georgia Tech is 0-4 within the conference. Their only wins were against Tulane and Alcorn State. Basically, these are all things that I said last week, and we don't need to get into that. They're giving up almost 28 points per game. Florida State has just looked good, and I think that Dalvin Cook carries them to another win.
Yeah,
at least a touchdown.
Yeah, Georgia Tech has looked atrocious this year. One of the biggest disappointments of the season.
I agree.
Florida State I think they've exceeded expectations with a new quarterback, and I think they're going to go. They're going to keep trending up, and Georgia Tech the Yellow Jackets will keep trending down. So I like that pick, Steve. So my first pick, I got Houston Cougars on the road against Central Florida. They're laying 3 touchdowns, but I like them. I like Houston, this high octane offense to cover the spread in this one. and here's why. They are 12-0-1 against the spread since 2013. That includes 3-0 against the spread on the road this season. In those games, they're covering by an average of 12 points. Throughout the season, they're averaging 46 points per game. Houston has wins over Louisville, Tulsa. They laid 49 on an improved Southern Methodist team, and just last week took down Tulane 42-7 at home. By the same token, the University of Central Florida is 0-7 on the season. They've been blown out in 5 games this year. The only close ones are 1-point home losses against Furman and Florida International. So it's been a rough season for the Central Florida Knights. So Houston quarterback Greg Ward Jr. is a dark horse Heisman candidate. He's completing.
Dark.
He is completing over 75% of his passes with an 166.1 quarterback rating. He doesn't just throw the ball on the ground. He's ran for over 600 yards this season, and he has 14 rushing touchdowns of the 25 that Houston has as a team, which is good for second in the FBS.
Wow.
They're averaging 279 yards on the ground, and I think that they keep up their streak of I might throw the house on it. I think Houston covers this spread. I think the spread might have moved up to 22, but I got him at -21 on the road covering against Central Florida.
I like that pick. I mean, if I was listening to this, I would definitely go with Houston. That's all I have to say. My next pick for the weekend is actually a game that's on Thursday night. It's Cal +3 at UCLA. I think Cal has looked good. They're 4-2. They're 2-1 at home. UCLA just hasn't looked the same. They played, your Stanford trees. They absolutely got demolished.
They sure did.
They've had terrible double-digit losses. Stanford and Arizona State the week before. They still have injuries to key players. They're allowing 30 points per game. I'm sorry. UCLA's 4-2. Cal is 5-1. And their only loss was to Utah a week before. They only lost by 6. They're scoring 40-plus points, which is tied for the most in the Pac-12. I like Cal in this.
I agree with you, Steve. I'll tell you what. I am sick of Jared Rosen. I mean, I can't stand him for some reason. I don't know what it is about him. I mean, he's just a little freshman. He needs to get knocked on his ass.
Overrated.
Just like he did last week against the Trees. Now, on the other side, I love Cal. The Golden Bears. Jared Goff, he's a purebred Golden Bear. His mother was a Cal athlete. His father played football and baseball. He was an all-conference catcher. So this kid bleeds Navy and gold here. He's a Golden Bear at heart. He's a potential first-round pick next season in the NFL draft. So I like Jared Goff a lot. I'm a Cal guy, and I like him to beat UCLA tonight. Now, my next pick coming up is going to be Penn State laying 6.5 on the road against the Maryland Terrapins. Running back Saquon Barkley came back for Penn State last week, and he came back in a big way. He's averaging 8.3 yards per carry this season, and I think he runs all over a weak Maryland defense. Now, here I got a couple stats for you about Maryland. Now, they are 127th in FBS in turnover margin. They're 126 in passing efficiency, 114th in third down efficiency, and 110th in total defense. So, I mean, given those statistics, they've had a couple bad losses at home. One of them was to, obviously, they got rocked by Jake's Michigan Wolverines, but also they lost to Bowling Green at home as well. Now, I'm a big Bowling Green guy. I actually bet on Bowling Green in that game. But Maryland's had a rough season. They already fired their coach. The interim coach is having a rough time, unlike the South Carolina interim coach, who I love, by the way. Sean Elliott's a great guy. So I like James Franklin to rally his guys and put a hurting on the Terps. Not only that, last season was the infamous pre-game handshake refusal by the Terrapins, a classless move. They actually won the game 20-19. Penn State is pissed here, and I think the Nittany Lions come out firing, and I think they crush Maryland this weekend.
I agree with you on that one. Who's at home?
Maryland.
Maryland's at home? I guess it don't matter.
It don't matter.
Well, yeah, I think, having that running back, I think, it gives Hackenberg a little bit of, sense of he doesn't have to do everything. He was coming in as a Heisman favorite. I feel like he had everything on his shoulders and just kind of, he didn't play up to his potential, but now he's got a little something to work with. And, I agree with you there. I think Penn State gets it done. So my last pick for college. And this is more on the if you like to bet on big spreads, but if you ever watch Baylor this season,
Baylor is hot.
They're just crushing teams.
They can score
at
points.
Home, minus 37 to Iowa State. Iowa State has looked good. But, I just think Baylor, they're 4-2 against the spread, and their spreads this year have been huge.
Yeah, I actually, I bet Kansas plus 46. They actually were up by 45. They were 1 point away at halftime. They scored 52 in the first half, 52 to Kansas's 7, and that was just the first half. So that was a horrible pick by me. And Baylor's just been unbelievable this year.
They're rolling. I mean, to get into I think they're pissed off about last year. I also think TCU as well. But they still don't have a conference championship, so that's why I think they just go out every week and they just try to destroy every team. That's why I don't think they're going to let up. They're averaging 66 points at home per game, which is the most in the FBS. So I think that Baylor covers the spread. What's your last pick, Nick?
I like that pick. My last pick here. Now this is a risky one. I went back and forth on this one. Now Western Kentucky is 16.5 point underdogs in Death Valley against LSU. I like this as a look ahead game for LSU. They're coming off this. I mean, they lost a lot of energy last week in that win over Florida. Western Kentucky is actually second in the nation in takeaways. They have 19 takeaways on the season. The Hilltoppers have been hot this year. They already have an SEC win under their belt. Granted, it was against the worst team in the SEC, in the Vanderbilt Commodores. But they also beat a strong Louisiana Tech team who played Mississippi State pretty well last year. Yeah, they do. Now Western Kentucky's quarterback Brandon Doughty has actually passed for over 10,000 yards in his career, so they've got a lot of experience at the quarterback position. Now LSU, Les Miles and company have failed to cover in their last 3 against non-conference opponents. They're 5-10 in their last 15 when laying double-digit points. So I think that they're gonna. It's a look-ahead game because they got Bama next week. Western Kentucky Hilltoppers are a hot team, and I'm not 100% sure on this one, but I'm going with Western Kentucky and the points here. I think LSU, I think they come out the gate hot. I think they score a couple touchdowns early. They keep the game close, and I don't think LSU covers this spread. So I like Western Kentucky in this one.
I'm just not going to touch this game. I mean, it's at LSU, right?
It is at LSU.
I don't know. 16.5, anything can happen. I mean, they had a tough, grind out game versus Florida, but it's also Western Kentucky. I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah. I was close on it, but I like Western Kentucky.
You also have
here.
a knack for picking these weird teams.
Yeah. Memphis was one heck of a. I mean, I know the SEC. I'm a South Carolina alumni. Memphis was a good pick last week. Hopefully I can ride that momentum this week, and Western Kentucky can keep this one close. So as far as college goes, I mean, the last game I wanted to touch on, Steve doesn't think it's a great game, but Alabama-Tennessee, it's a 15-point spread. Alabama's game looked a lot less close than it actually was last week because of 3 interception returns for touchdowns. So that score was not as close as it looked. It was a close game throughout. I watched the whole game against Texas A&M. Bama, I mean, they were pretty close to not covering, but they covered pretty comfortably. But
was it 4? Minus 4?
Last week, but this week it's 15. So, I mean, Bama is at home, but I don't know. I'm thinking about it, but I think I might take Tennessee in the points here.
Tennessee's gotten screwed this year.
They have gotten screwed, but I think they've got a lot of talent.
A couple last seconds.
Yeah. So I think I like Tennessee in that game, but it's not a great week in college football.
Yeah, definitely
not like last week.
Yeah.
So let's get into the NFL now.
We got 2 picks.
Two picks each in the NFL. First, I'm just going to quickly touch on the Redskins. They're playing at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
What, 2-4?
They are 2-4. They've actually been leading at halftime in five.
One of the Lions.
Yep.
I will bet you right now the Lions have a better record at the end of the season.
We can certainly talk about that. I mean, I'm definitely going to make that bet with you. We just got to determine how much we're going to throw on it. We'll do that after the show. So I like the Skins here. Matt Jones is sitting. I'd like to have Matt Jones sharing carries with Alfred Morris in this game, but Tampa Bay they got a rookie quarterback in Jameis Winston. He not so much. I think he leads the league in Doug Martin's tough. So yeah, hopefully the Skins can get this win. If they don't, I mean they're gonna be free falling. But they have been winning at halftime in 5 of their 6 games this year. Only managed to win 2 of those games. They've been outscored 45-3 in the third quarter. And if you count drives that start in the third quarter and end in the fourth quarter, they're being outscored 76-3. That is just one of the most insane statistics I have ever heard. They're only playing 3 quarters. They're taking a nap in the third quarter. So they got to turn that around. I mean, that's unacceptable. So I'm going to start off with my first NFL pick. I like the Pittsburgh Steelers, -1.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think it matters who's playing quarterback. When you got Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and Martavis Bryant on the outside, yeah, he was great in his return from a 4-game suspension, and I believe he sat out a game with a hamstring injury. But he looked excellent. And Landry Jones looked great in the second half. I believe he gets the start this week. He had a great NFL debut, and I like him to continue his positive play here. So even without Big Ben, I love Pittsburgh to cover this spread against the sliding Chiefs team that might be looking for a coach come the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it on paper, it looks like a toss-up just because Big Ben isn't playing. But, I mean, if you've watched any of the Chiefs game this year, I mean, they just don't look, they just don't look like the same Chiefs without Jamal Charles. I mean, they just look dysfunctional. It's a big game for them. Big game. I mean, obviously every game's a big game, but if I were to pick in this game, I'd probably go with the Steelers as well.
Got to go with the Steelers.
I'm going to go with, for my first pick, I'm going to go Falcons -3.5 to the Titans. And Titans, more likely than not, will not have the Heisman winner in college, Mariota. They will have Zach Mettenberger playing. He's a
bum.
First start of the season. In 2014 as a starter, he had 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions with 2 fumbles. So, I mean, the guy isn't, exactly an all-star. The Titans are 0-3 at home this season, giving up almost 26 points per game. The Falcons are averaging 31 points per game, and they also played last Thursday night, so they have a few more days of rest. I think that Falcons come out and I think they put it to the Titans.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Falcons, they got a great offense. They started off good. I think they haven't played great in their last couple of games. They didn't play great against the Redskins, even though they got the win in overtime. Yep. But they got
lost a close game to the Saints.
They got insane amount more talent than the Tennessee Titans. No Mariota, no chance for the Titans. I like that pick. So my second pick and my final pick of the podcast, my final official pick of the podcast, I'm going to go with the Jets and the 9.5 points. I believe it's even up to 10. They're in Foxborough playing the New England Patriots, who have just looked like the best team in football. But, yeah, after watching that Colts game last week, I mean, they are beatable. The Colts were winning the game at halftime. People just love the Patriots right now. Yeah, it was only a 1 point. Yeah. But, I don't know. The Jets they're 5-1 here. I watched the game against the Redskins. They're a good team. You were calling Fitzpatrick a killer last week.
And he is a killer.
I gotta agree with you there. Yeah,
than anyone.
He's got more passion than anybody I've ever seen. But he's also a good leader. These guys listen to him.
Brandon Marshall looks like he's comfortable.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna disagree.
Chris Ivory's tough also. Not to mention, yeah. I mean, that's fair. The Patriots have looked like the best team in football this season. I just don't. I mean, I think the Patriots definitely get the. I think they definitely get the win, but I mean, 9.5 points. I'm pretty comfy with the 5-1 Jets team that's got one of the best defenses in the NFL.
You saw it last week. The Patriots were -9. They were crushing them. Towards the end, they were up by almost 2 touchdowns, and then Colts go down, score like a touchdown that ruins the spread, and they cover. So something like that could happen. I definitely think I agree the Patriots will win the game. It all comes down to, the team going down and driving, the Jets if they score a touchdown to, cover the spread because they won't win.
Yeah, it'll be a great game. I think it's one of the best games of the week.
1 o'clock game.
Yeah, I'm not. What do you think about the London game? You like Jags or the Bills in this one? I think that no Tyrod Taylor, no Sammy Watkins for the Buffalo Bills. They're playing in London where
Don't sleep on the Jags.
I am not sleeping on the Jags. I like the Jags in this game. I mean, Blake Bortles is improving with every game.
Yep. Buffalo still has a good defense, but I mean, they're definitely going to be struggling on offense.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. LaShawn McCoy, he's been hot since he's been back. So, I mean, as long as he doesn't go off, I think the Jags can be competitive in this one and hopefully get the win. I don't know. Are there any other games you want to touch on here?
I just have one more pick.
Okay.
Just one. Chargers, at home to the Raiders, -4. Chargers look great against the Packers, although they're playing the Packers, so I mean it was a tough loss for them. But they look good. They're staying aggressive. Rivers threw the ball something like 60 times last week. If he throws it even 30 against the Raiders, I think they get this done at home. It's a big game for them. They need to bounce back, win. I think they take it to Del Rio's defense in the Raiders.
Yep, I agree with you. So any other games we want to touch on here?
Nope. I think that concludes it, Nick.
Alrighty. Well, everybody have a great weekend. Thank you for listening. Good luck on all your picks this weekend. Hopefully it's another great weekend of football. And,
Yeah, tune in next week, and we'll see how we did. Thanks.
All right, this is Nick Kleifges and Steve Doman signing off. Take care, everybody.